What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Savage Rounds with Xavier. This is episode number 28. Today for you, we've got predictions and betting for UFC Vegas 79. Rafael Fiziev taking on Mateusz Gamrot. Overall, the card is definitely a bit slow. There are some iffy fights. I'm definitely excited for the main event, Fiziev versus Gamrot, and the co-main is decent as well. We've got Bryce Mitchell taking on Dan Ige, but like I said, overall, a bit of a slow card. Kicking it off, we've got Tamir's Vidal taking on Montserrat Rendon. Vidal is 25 years old, 7-1, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 5-0 in her last five, 1-0 in the UFC. In her last fight was that 1-0 in the UFC. It was a round 1 KO TKO over Ramona Pascal in November of last year. She threw it wasn't a super long fight, as you can see, just about 3 minutes, but she ended up throwing a beautiful flying knee up the middle that connected with Pascal's midsection and just put her down, and Pascal was not able to get back up. Solid debut from Vidal, but still haven't seen too much of her in the UFC. Rendon, on the other hand, 34 years old, 5-0, 5'8", 68-inch reach, 5-0 is her last five because that's her entire career. It is her debut, and her last fight was a split decision victory over 4-4 Brittany Cloud in Invicta FC over a year, or just under a year ago now. So it's been quite a long time since she's fought. She's making her debut at 34 years old with only 5 fights under her belt. All 5 fights have gone to decision. She's got 3 unanimouses and 2 splits. Not super impressive. Watching her on tape, also not very impressive. On the feet, it looks like she really only has a 1-2. It's not very powerful. It's not the quickest either, I'd say. And if on occasion she'll try and push you up against the fence, and if she can get you down, maybe she'll get you down, but if not, she is content to hold you there and throw knees and stuff until you can shake her off and break it out to the middle. She hasn't fought very high level competition. I don't think she's super high level. Tamir's Vidal, if you've seen her fight, you know she's tough. She'll eat a shot to give one. Her striking may not be the most technical, but she swings big and it's powerful. She's quite good on the ground as well. Her jiu-jitsu is good. She's got a few submissions. I think this was actually the Pascal fight was her first KO TKO, and all her other finishes were submissions. So if Rendon does get her to the ground, I think she gets submitted. On the feet, I don't think she's going to be able to really do anything to deter how aggressive Vidal is going to be, and I think Vidal's probably just going to land big shots. If she can't get Rendon out of there, it'll be a decision. If she does get Vidal out of there, good on her. But yeah, not super high level fight. I'm not overly excited for it either, and absolutely no bets for me on this fight at all. Next up, kind of the same story here. We've got Mizuki Inoue taking on Hannah Goldy. Inoue is 29 years old, 14-6, 5'3", 65-inch reach, 3-2 in her last 5, 1-1 in the UFC. Her last fight was a unanimous decision loss against Amanda Lemos, and you can see there that fight was UFC Vegas 7 in 2020, back in August 2020. So she hasn't fought in over 3 years now. Hannah Goldy on the other side, 31 years old, 6-3, 5'4", 61-inch reach, 2-3 in her last 5. Her last fight was a round 1 KO TKO loss to Molly McCann over a year ago in July 2022 in London. Again, another fight. I don't really have too much to say about it. I think I don't even really want to get into. I'll just tell you how I think the fight's gonna play out. Who's gonna win? I think Inoue is good enough on the feet to strike with Hannah Goldy. I think Inoue can mix in the kicks. She's got solid kicks, and I think she will mix in some grappling as well. Probably she's got solid grappling. I think she's gonna beat Hannah Goldy. I'm not betting on this fight. I didn't really dive too deep into it when making my decision here, but I'm going with Inoue for the victory. Another fight. No bets for me. It is what it is in this one. Next up, a heavyweight prelim. We've got the brother of Kamaru Usman, the former welterweight champion, Muhammad Usman, taking on Jake Collier. Muhammad Usman is, I can't remember what season it was, but a recent one. of The Ultimate Fighter. He was the heavyweight champion, or the heavyweight winner of the Ultimate Fighter. He is 34 years old, 10-2, 6'2", 79-inch reach, 4-1 in hhis last 5, 2-0 in the UFC. His last fight was a unanimous decision victory over Junior Tafa in April of this year, and Junior Tafa did just get a knockout victory over Parker Porter. So, for Usman, he did definitely get tagged. He didn't make it interesting at all. He was laying on top, trying to hold him up against the cage, but he was able to withstand some big shots and use control time to get the victory. Jake Collier, 34 years old, 13-9, 6'3", 78.5-inch reach, 1-4 in his last 5. His last fight was a unanimous decision loss to Martin Buday, also in April of this year. Like I said, this is a slow card. This is another one where I think unless somebody gets slept early, I think this is going to be an extremely boring fight. Jake Collier doesn't have a great gas tank. We know what he's going to do. He's going to walk forward and try and put a pace on Usman and get him out of there before Usman can really settle into the fight and get his control time. But Buday was able to control him. He's been controlled before on the fence. Like I said, his gas tank isn't great. He can be taken down. He doesn't really get up if he's taken down. I trust Usman's gas tank a bit more, and I just think he's going to be strong and his chin's decent enough. I think he'll be able to withstand shots from Jake Collier and probably hold Collier up against the fence like Buday was able to do. Maybe as Jake Collier starts to get tired as the fight progresses, Usman can get a couple takedowns in each round and win a decision that way. I really do see it going that way, unless one of them catches the other pretty early. That's just the way I see the fight trending. I'm going with Usman to win. It's a weird one because I really do think that is most likely how the fight goes, but I just don't love a bet on this fight. It's low-level heavyweights. It's not something I'm really willing to throw money on. So even though I do feel like Usman's going to get the win here, I'm not interested in betting this at all. But Usman is the pick here. I think he wins. Most likely a boring decision. Next up, Jacob Mamba Malkoun taking on Cody Brundage. Brundage taking another short notice fight here. I'll talk about his last one in a second, but Jacob Malkoun, 28 years old, 7-2, 5'9", 73-inch reach, 3-2 in his last 5. His last fight was a unanimous decision victory over Nick Maximov in October of last year, so it's been a decent bit since he's fought, not quite a year yet. Everybody knows him as the Robert Whittaker protege. Cody Brundage on the other side, 29 years old, 8'5", 6 feet tall, so he's got quite the he'll have the size and height advantage for sure, as you can see. Not so much the reach advantage, which is funny, but 72-inch reach, 2-3 in his last 5. In his last fight, he did take on Cedric Dumas on short notice, and he was not able to get the victory. He lost via unanimous decision back in June, and that was an interesting one because I think a lot of people, including myself, to be honest, I may have ended up switching my pick right before the fight. I can't remember, to be honest, but I think initially my thoughts were Cody Brundage was just going to be able to get the takedowns and run through Dumas, but he was not. He gassed, and Dumas was able to actually end up taking him down and getting control time and landing a little bit of strikes that didn't do too much striking. But he gassed on short notice, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. They're both decent boxers. I'd say in this fight, Brundage is going to be the more powerful guy, especially in the striking. He's quite a bit bigger, as you can see, just like the height and size-wise. He'll be bigger too. It'll be interesting to see him at the face-off and the weigh-ins. But yeah, I think Brundage, he has the bigger shots, but I think Malkoun can be a bit slicker with his boxing. Neither are super high level. They're both definitely improving. They're both primary grapplers for sure. I just don't trust Brundage's gas tank here. I think Malkoun has a decent gas tank, and he'll pressure forward. You can see there in the stats and his takedowns per 15 minutes. He's shooting almost 7.5 takedowns per 15 minutes of fighting. He's going to be relentless. If he can get Cody Brundage down, I think he's going to put a pace on Brundage and gas him out and win the fight. Unless Brundage is able to land a big shot early, which he is capable of. Malkoun's been hurt before. And maybe early in the first round with the size advantage, he's able to do some work on top. Who knows? But the longer this fight goes on, the more I favor Jacob Malkoun. I like Malkoun in this one. Like I said, I think he's going to put a pace on Brundage and get the victory. He is minus 700 right now. There's no way I like him at minus 700. I'm not taking that number at all. But the pick is definitely Jacob Malkoun for me to get the win in this one. Next up, an interesting string of 3 fights here for me. I'm going 3 underdogs in a row here, which is a little bold, but I like how they end up shaking out. We've got Tim Means taking on Andre Fialho. Tim Means is 39 years old, so definitely at the tail end of his career. He's been in a lot of fights, as you can see. 32, 15-1, 6'2", 75-inch reach, 2-3 in his last 5, and his last fight was a round 2 submission loss versus Alex Morono in May of this year, and that was after winning the first round. He got caught in a guillotine. It was a really nice guillotine from Alex Morono. And on the Fialho side, he is 29 years old, 16-7, 6 feet tall, 74-inch reach, 2-3 in his last 5. His last fight was a round 2 KO TKO loss to Joaquin Buckley, also in May of this year. And he is actually on a 3-fight KO TKO streak, or losing TKO streak, so it hasn't been great for him. You can see his confidence diminishing. He came in, and I want to say he went 4 first round knockouts in a row, or 4 knockouts in a row in the UFC. Maybe he lost his debut. I should have had this up. I always say this, actually. I can pull it up pretty quick, but I think he had a streak of at least 3 knockouts in a row. I can't remember. I think he might have lost his debut. Hold on, I have it right here. Yeah, so he lost his debut to Michelle Waterson. Oh, it was only 2 fights, actually. And then he had 2 first-round KOs in a row, and then he's gone on a horrific 3-fight losing streak, getting knocked out in all of them, twice in the second round, once in the third. And this is an interesting fight because Fialho is definitely going to be the better striker here, and if he can land big shots on Tim Means early, I definitely think he can win this fight. He's going to have to put Tim Means out because the longer this goes, the worse I can see it getting for him, unless Tim Means is just never able to recover from big shots early. But what I feel like is going to happen here is Fialho's kind of counting on knocking him out early. He's not going to go out there and wrestle, I don't think. And I think Tim Means can get takedowns on him. We saw him do it against Morono, or at least get control time against Morono. Fialho was taken down by... I can't remember. He's been taken down a few times, but he hurt some... I think it was Muslim Salikov, maybe. He hurt Muslim Salikov, and Salikov was able to take him down while hurt quite easily. He doesn't have the best takedown defense, and he can be held down. So I think that is an option. But Tim Means is going to be a long... he's a long frame. You can see he's got 2 inches of height and 1 inch of reach. The 2 inches of height will make the reach seem a little bit more. It'll be harder to hit. He's tough. He's been knocked out once. He has 2 TKO losses on his record, but one of them was an injury. And that one, I want to say it was like in 2019 or something. It was quite some time ago. It's been like 3 or 4 years since it happened. He's been rocked, definitely. Kevin Holland even rocked him, but Kevin Holland finished that fight with a submission, so he's tough. Even though he's able to get rocked, most of the time he's able to tough it out. I think he can make this fight gritty. He's got good leg kicks. I think that'll be a problem for Fialho. And I think, like I said, he's going to make it gritty. That's what Tim Means does. He gets in there, he makes it gritty and grimy, and he'll get in with the clinch, and throw knees up the middle and try and slice you open with elbows. If he can get you to the ground, he'll do that too. And Fialho gasses. Like I said earlier, his confidence has looked low since these last 3 losses. I just think if he can't get it done early, he's going to run into a lot of trouble. The under for this fight, the under 2.5, is sitting at minus 170. If you don't want to bet it straight at minus 170, I love it as a parlay piece. I think no matter who wins, to be honest, we see a finish. Whether it goes longer and Tim Means is able to make it gross and gas Fialho, and he's just not able to stand it anymore. And Tim Means, I didn't even mention it. Tim Means does great body work with the boxing as well. I think that's going to play a big part down the stretch. So I think he can do that. I think he can find a submission too if he's able to get Fialho to the ground, or if, like I said, if he's making it gross and Fialho's trying to shoot a takedown or something just to get out of the way. I can see Tim Means finding a sub. I see both guys with paths to a finish, so I like that under 2.5 at -170 for sure. And then I'm probably gonna have a play on Means at +141. If I had taken it earlier in the week, I definitely could have gotten a better line, but he's still an underdog at this point, and I do think he can make this gross and get the win. I'm going with Tim Means here. Next up, my second underdog pick, Dan Argueta taking on Miles Johns. Argueta, 30 years old, 9-1, 5'7", 68-inch reach, 3-1-1 in his last 5. He's 1-1-1 in the UFC. His last fight ended up being a no contest versus Ronnie Lawrence. In June of this year, he had Ronnie Lawrence in a submission. Ronnie Lawrence had his hand up like he was going to tap. He really just kind of never did tap and left it there. The ref, I think, thought like he like pulled his hand to check if he was still like awake, and it kind of looked like he tapped when the ref did this. It was the ref's fault, and he stopped the fight. They see that on the replay and end up giving it a no contest, rightfully so. And I think, to be honest, I don't think Ronnie Lawrence is in the UFC. I saw on that roster watch Twitter that he was off the roster. I don't know what that means, but Miles Johns on the other side, 29 years old, 13-2, 5'7", 66-inch reach, 3-2 in his last 5, and his last fight was a unanimous decision victory over Vince Morales in November at the end of 2022. We know what Argueta brings. He's got a crazy pace on him. He's got solid power in the strikes. It's not the most technical striking, and you know he's going to shoot takedowns. He's great in scrambles. He loves to get the takedowns. If he can't, sometimes he struggles. If he's facing a better striker. But if he can get these takedowns here, I think Miles Johns is going to have trouble getting up off of his back. He doesn't really ever spend a lot of time on his back being the wrestler in most fights. So I think, or at least having that wrestling threat in his back pocket, so people aren't really out here shooting takedowns on him. You can see his percentage is 92%, so he's definitely not spending a lot of time on his back. I think if Argueta can get him there, Miles Johns could be in trouble, and Argueta could definitely win minutes and get off ground and pound and look for submissions like that. So if he's able to go out there and get takedowns early, I think this could be a long night for Miles Johns. But what I see happening is you see that takedown defense. Miles Johns is a great wrestler himself. He's a big, strong, physical guy. I think he can go out there, stuff takedowns, punish Argueta sometimes when he's coming in for takedowns, and then on the feet, I think he's the cleaner striker. He's definitely more powerful in my opinion as well, and I really think Miles Johns can make this a long night for Argueta. So one way or the other, I see it being a tough night for one guy. If Argueta can get these takedowns early and keep Miles Johns under him, I think it'll be a long night for Johns. But if Johns is able to stuff the takedowns, punish Argueta coming in, and just beat him on the feet, be the better boxer, I really see Miles Johns on the other side making it a long night for Argueta. I favor Johns in this one. He's sitting at +146 right now. There may end up being a small play for him. My favorite of the underdogs was definitely Tim Means. I definitely also think Miles Johns can do it, but I just think the Fialho matchup gives Means more opportunities. I think Argueta can definitely make this tough for Johns, but still like Miles Johns to get the win in this one. Stuff takedowns and make it difficult on the feet. Next up, the third underdog in this little streak, Ricardo Ramos taking on Charles Jourdain. Ramos is 28 years old, 16-4, 5'9", 72-inch reach, 3-2 in his last 5. His last fight was a round 1 KO/TKO victory over Danny Chavez in June of last year, so it's been quite some time since he's fought, over a year now for sure, and it was a beautiful spinning back elbow that he knocked out Danny Chavez with on the fence. On the Charles Jourdain side, he's 27 years old, 14, 6-1, 5'9" as well, 69-inch reach, 3-2 in his last 5. His last fight was a unanimous decision victory over Kron Gracie in May of this year. And that was a really weird fight because obviously we knew Jourdain was going to own Kron Gracie on the feet, but it was just going to be if Kron Gracie could make it interesting on the ground. He wasn't really able to get Jourdain there many times, and when it was on the ground, it was never dangerous for Jourdain. So it was a solid performance to stay safe and do what he needed to do. He probably could have gone harder for the finish, but I understand with how good Kron Gracie's jiu-jitsu is. He was worried about putting himself in a bad situation. For this fight, however, this is going to be explosive on the feet. Both of these guys are so much fun to watch. With the hands, that we know they're both quick, dynamic. They've both got really creative, fast striking. So I love that on the feet. It's going to be super fun to watch and very competitive, I do think. And where I think Jourdain can probably do good work on the feet is with the leg kicks. That's where I'll give him the edge over Ricardo Ramos. Ricardo Ramos will mix in leg kicks, but not really all that much. Charles Jourdain can definitely be more damaging and effective with them. But where I separate it is, while I think Ricardo Ramos can be competitive on the feet with Jourdain, I think this is going to be, like I said, explosive and extremely fun to watch, regardless of who ends up getting the win. But I think Ricardo Ramos can go out there and mix in takedowns. It's weird. Sometimes he can get them, sometimes he can't. Sometimes he doesn't use them at all. But we've seen him go out there. I was scrolling through stats the other day when I was watching tape and picking for this fight. Ricardo Ramos had a fight where he went like 8 of 13 on takedowns. It was something like that. I want to say it was 8 of 13 exactly, but I could be a little bit off. But regardless, sometimes he goes out there and can bang him out and get it down, and sometimes it's tough for him. Sometimes he doesn't use them. So it'll be interesting to see how he decides to mix those in, but we've seen Jourdain get taken down before. You can see 48% takedown defense, not really too good. You don't want to get taken down by over half of the takedown shot at you. So it'll be interesting to see how Ramos decides to work that in. But if he does, I really see a solid path to victory for him. I think both of these guys will have moments on the feet. And like I said, where Ramos can differentiate himself is with the takedowns. But again, where Jourdain can differentiate himself, if he gets off to a good start on the feet, he can use those leg kicks and really make movement hard for Ramos. I'm siding with Ramos being able to mix it all together, work in the takedowns, get Jourdain to the ground, and like I said, they'll both win moments on the feet. So I'm going with Ramos being a bit more well-rounded if he uses it. Next up, Bryan Battle taking on AJ Fletcher. I actually think Pooh Bear is the wrong nickname. I think he changed it now. I didn't see to what, but I feel like I remember seeing he changed it. Bryan Battle, 28 years old, 10-2, 6'1", 77-inch reach, 4-1 in his last 5. His last fight was a round 1, 14-second KO victory over Gabe Green in May of this year. AJ Fletcher on the other side, 26 years old, 10-2 as well, 5'10", 67-inch reach. 3-2 in his last 5 with a win on Contender Series, and he's 1-2 in the UFC. His last fight was actually his first UFC victory, a round 2 submission win over the debuting Themba Gorimbo in February of this year. And Themba actually went on after this fight to submit Takashi Sato, I believe. So ended up the win aged decently with Themba getting a win. It's not just some pushover for AJ to get his first victory in, but we know what we're going to get from AJ Fletcher. He's going to come in, crash the distance. He wants to get on the inside and throw big shots. He's got big power. He can definitely put people out. He's explosive. He's strong. But his issue there is he can definitely gas himself out. He goes hard early sometimes, and that can be an issue for him. You can see how much muscle he carries. He's a big dude, strong guy. Sometimes it works for him, and he's able to get guys out of there. And then also, he wants to mix in the takedowns. He's definitely a wrestler, and he's quite decent at it. If he gets on top, he has decent control. I think Bryan Battle can make it interesting with how he has some solid jiu-jitsu, but I think there is also a world where AJ Fletcher on the top can make it tough with ground and pound. Bryan Battle, though, on the other side, you look at it, he's got a 3-inch height advantage, a 10-inch reach advantage. That's going to be absolutely insane. Bryan Battle typically fights well off the back foot. He ends up doing it a lot, getting pressured. But he's a guy who can work that jab at range, and I think that's going to be a big thing for him here. If he can hit AJ Fletcher at the end of his strikes, he's going to have good opportunities here. And also, I mean, we've seen it before when Bryan Battle gets in close like that Gabe Green. He was content to sit in the pocket. He trusts his chin. We've seen him get cracked before and be able to eat shots. We've seen him in that Renat Fakhretdinov fight. He was getting ground and pounded for like 14 of a 15-minute fight, and he was able to last 2 unanimous decisions. So definitely a tough guy. He trusts his chin. He will get in the pocket and mix it up. He's got big power as well, especially at 170 pounds. You saw him knock out Gabe Green in 14 seconds in that last fight when Gabe Green exploded inside and tried to get inside on him really quick. So it could be dangerous for Fletcher there. And like I said, I think Bryan Battle can make it difficult on the ground, or at least uncomfortable for AJ Fletcher if he's able to get it there. He's got good jiu-jitsu. We've seen him get some submissions on The Ultimate Fighter and in the UFC as well. Does he have any UFC submissions? I don't know if he does. He might just have 2 knockouts and a few decisions. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but definitely at a minimum submissions on the Ultimate Fighter. We've seen that. And we've seen AJ Fletcher, too, struggle at distance with Angelus. Angelus had a solid reach advantage on him and was able to make him pay at range, and Fletcher just really wasn't able to get anything going. So I think if Bryan Battle can be smart, he can use that jab at distance and do what he normally does, trust that chin in close when AJ Fletcher gets inside. Obviously, you can't get hit clean a lot by AJ Fletcher, but we know Bryan Battle is willing to get in there and trade. So if he can land some big shots in the pocket as well as doing well on the outside, I think he can get this victory. I'm going Bryan Battle. His money line's sitting at -185. You can see. I think the physical advantages are also going to be huge for him here. So I feel pretty good about Bryan Battle. His inside the distance is at +155. So with how AJ Fletcher gasses, I could definitely see a late finish, round 2, round 3, whether it be a TKO or a submission. I do like that. And then Bryan Battle's submission at +300. I also, like I said, AJ Fletcher could gas and he could find himself in a bad spot on the ground, or as he gets tired, maybe he's getting hit with shots, he shoots in. We know Bryan Battle's got some defensive submissions. I could also see Battle snatching up a guillotine or something like that. The sub sitting at +300, I may end up taking a shot at that as well. But I do love Bryan Battle in this spot. Next up, Marina Rodriguez taking on Michelle Waterson-Gomez. I get they're around each other in the rankings, but I'm really surprised we're seeing this matchup again. Marina Rodriguez, I'm not even going to read the stats. I really don't even care. Marina Rodriguez won the last time out. I have a hard time seeing it going differently. The only way I could see it is if Michelle Waterson is able to get takedowns early. We saw her be able to have a tad bit of success versus Marina doing that late in the fight, if I'm remembering correctly. I really didn't even watch tape for this fight. I just couldn't be less interested. I think Marina Rodriguez is just going to be the better, longer, bigger striker on the feet, and she's going to do more damage than Michelle Waterson. I don't think Michelle Waterson's going to be able to get the takedowns. Marina Rodriguez has a decent first level of takedown defense. Sometimes she has trouble getting back up, but a decent first level of takedown defense, especially if you're not a primary wrestler. So I'm going with Marina to get the win in this one. Definitely not betting. Don't even care. Next up, Bryce Mitchell taking on Dan Ige. Definitely one of the better fights on this card. Bryce Mitchell, 28 years old, 15-2, 5'10", 70-inch reach, 4-1 in his last 5. His last fight being a round 2 submission loss versus Ilia Topuria in December of last year. I was actually at that fight. I had big money on Ilia Topuria there, and it did pay off. It was awesome. Ilia Topuria was always going to be an issue for Bryce Mitchell on the feet, and then with the grappling pedigree Ilia Topuria possesses as well, I thought it would just be a tough spot for Bryce Mitchell in general. On the other side, Dan Ige, 32 years old, 17-6, 5'7", 71-inch reach, 2-3 in his last 5, and his last fight was a unanimous decision victory over Nate Landwehr in June of this year. Nate Landwehr didn't really go as takedown heavy as I thought he would. He shot a few, but he was quite content to strike on the feet. I think Dan Ige could definitely pose big problems to Bryce Mitchell on the feet here. He's the much better striker. He's the much more powerful striker. We saw Bryce Mitchell struggle with that on the feet versus Ilia Topuria. But we've also seen Dan Ige get taken down at times and have trouble with guys that are solid on the ground. He can get controlled. Korean Zombie was taking his back. I think if Bryce Mitchell's able to go out there and get takedowns, he could look minus 1,000 here. I think he's going to go out there and get takedowns. I really do. Whether he gets the first one or the second one or the third one, I don't know. But I do think at some point he will be able to find takedowns. So if he's able to avoid taking too much damage early, I really do think at some point in the first round he'll start to find takedowns and he'll be able to control Dan Ige on the ground. Maybe he's looking for submissions. Maybe not. I could see if he's getting controlled late, Dan Ige, he just tries to make something happen on the ground and get up and he gets his back taken and gets submitted. Maybe something like that. I don't know, but I love Bryce Mitchell here. I really think he's going to get takedowns and find a lot of control time on Dan Ige to get the victory and put himself back in the featherweight conversation. Next up, the main event. I'm so excited for this fight. I love Rafael Fiziev, and he is taking on a very good opponent, Mateusz Gamrot. Fiziev, 30 years old, 12-2, 5'8", 71-inch reach, 4-1 in his last 5. His last fight was a majority decision loss to Justin Gaethje in March of this year. Live, I thought Fiziev won the fight. I went back and watched it. I still thought Fiziev won the fight. I thought he won the first 2 rounds, and Gaethje definitely won the third, but it is what it is. It was a good fight regardless. Mateusz Gamrot, 32 years old, 22-2 is his record, 5'10", 70.5-inch reach, 4-1 in his last 5, and his last victory was a split decision loss to Jalen Turner in March of this year that I actually thought he lost. I thought Jalen Turner's damage was good enough to outweigh the lay and pray control time of Gamrot. And with Gamrot, you know what you're getting. He's not the best striker. It's decent. He's got decent power. His jab's okay. He can definitely get hit. His head movement's not the best. And, you can see it again. Maybe he's not shooting 7.5 takedowns per 15 minutes because his control time is quite good, but he's going to go out there and shoot takedowns. That's his game plan. It is no secret. He's a relentless wrestler. The only thing that people don't really like about him is that he is lay and pray. He's not super dangerous on the ground. And then Fiziev on the other side, another guy, you know what you're getting from him. He's got great takedown defense. You can see it there, 90%. He's a big, physical, strong guy. He's got a solid gas tank. He's gone 5 rounds before. He almost went all 5 versus RDA, but he was able to get him out of there early in the 5th. So we know his gas tank can extend to the 5th round, and this is a 5-round fight. And on the feet, this is not going to be close, I don't think. I don't see in what world Gamrot is able to strike with Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev's Muay Thai is brilliant. He throws great Muay Thai. He throws great kicks to the body and the legs. Mateusz Gamrot gets his body kicked a lot. I think Fiziev with the hands too can do good work to the body. And yeah, I love Fiziev here to stuff takedowns, make this difficult on the feet. And Gamrot's been dropped in his last 3 fights. If he's not able to get takedowns here and he has to contend with Fiziev on the feet for long periods of time, I just don't see a world where he doesn't get dropped at some point. I think Fiziev's going to hurt him on the feet at some point in this fight and find the knockout finish. I could see it, to be honest, being like round 3, round 4, maybe even late round 2, but I'm feeling good about round 3, to be honest. The money line for Fiziev sitting at minus 151. I do like that. I have a play on it already. And his KO line is plus 170. I'll probably play a bit on that as well. The under 4.5 is plus 105, and while I do think it's going to go under 1.5 or under 4.5, I don't really see a path to Gamrot getting a finish here, really. Maybe if he's able to put a pace on Fiziev and Fiziev gasses out, he's able to find something on the ground, a TKO or a submission, but it feels unlikely to me, so why pay that under 4.5 price if you think there's going to be a finish on the Fiziev side, and Gamrot doesn't have too much finishing upside, in my opinion. So if I'm looking for the finish, I will just play Fiziev inside the distance or the KO line at plus 170, which I probably will end up doing. I'll just quick recap. I think Fiziev's going to stuff takedowns, and on the feet, he's going to wash Gamrot. He'll hurt him and make this a really tough night. Big body kicks to the legs, and land his great combinations and big powerful strikes that he throws. to hurt Gamrot at some point and get him out of there. I'm thinking round 3, round 4 type area. Savage Rounds parlay, 16 and 12 on the year, plus 5.1 units. We were close last week. We had, I can't remember who the first leg was, but we hit the first leg and then lost Kevin Holland. It was the first time I put an underdog in it, and it didn't pay off. It was a close fight, but Kevin Holland didn't win that fight. JDM won 2-1 quite easily. I think there's even an argument for 3-0 JDM. But in this week, I'm not going to explain to you why I think maybe I'll give you just a brief overview so I can talk about it a bit, but Bryce Mitchell, I think he's going to go out there, get the takedowns versus Danny Gay, get control time, and win a decision. Although it may be boring, I think that's what Bryce Mitchell can do in this spot. Fiziev, I think he's going to go out there, stuff takedowns, big body kicks, big leg kicks. He throws great powerful combinations where he mixes in the kicks. I think he's going to hurt Gamrot on the feet and get him out of there. Plus 147 if you parlay these two guys together. And we're looking to get back on track, start up the win streak again and try and get to 5. We're going to break 5 this year. I can feel it. I know we can do better than 5 in a row. But yeah, still positive. 5 units on the year. We're looking to improve that. That was Fiziev versus Gamrot, UFC Vegas 79. Go check out the Noche UFC matchmaking / recap video if you haven't seen that. Drop a like and subscribe on this, and I'll see you guys Tuesday next week. Peace out.